Back in 2001, it was time for Nintendo to release its very own 128-bit console, and as the follow-up to the seminal N64, there was a lot of pressure for the Nintendo GameCube to deliver. Now, if you remember, this is before Nintendo burst back into the mainstream with the Wii, and it was after the N64, so it was at this time where there was a perfect balance between innovative graphics and it still had that challenging gameplay that us hardcore gamers love. Now, it didn't sell as well as the N64 or the Wii, but there are some absolutely classic titles that really do stand the test of time, and that's why today I'm Joe Hendry and we're going to be talking about the 10 best Nintendo GameCube games. Okay guys, you know the rules, it's one game per franchise per genre, so we'll accept multiple Marios as long as he's doing different things. And without further delay, let's move on to number 10, Pikmin 2. This is a solid and charming and fun real-time strategy game that sees Captain Olimar using the abilities of his Pikmin friends to gather resources and pay back the debt that he has incurred. It ditches the 30-day limit from the previous game and also includes a second player Louis, which allows for a more complex and longer playthrough. It's a beautiful and unique game and definitely deserves a playthrough from all of you Nintendo fanatics out there. Number 9, Luigi's Mansion. It's traditional with Nintendo when they launch a new console that it's Mario that takes center stage. But for the Nintendo GameCube, this wasn't to be the case. It was Luigi that was getting the attention. And he did so in Luigi's Mansion with this unique game that saw some gameplay variations that were different to the usual platforming that we're used to from the Mario Brothers. It saw Luigi using a vacuum on his back to capture ghosts, and it was a variation that we'll see replicated in another Mario Brothers game in this list, if you know what I am saying. The gameplay and graphics are smooth, it's simple, and it's full of that trademark Nintendo fun. Number 8, TimeSplitters 2. Now this is a difficult one because it's not a game that we'd usually associate with Nintendo or the GameCube, but there's just no escaping the fact that TimeSplitters 2 is one of the most beloved and complete first-person shooters of all time. It's considered by many to be the unofficial follow-up to the successful GoldenEye from the N64 because several of the team members from that game made TimeSplitters 2. It's a wonderfully balanced first-person shooter with a massive amount of replay value and co-op gameplay, but it's also funny and intense with engaging missions, and it's since left gamers begging for a sequel to TimeSplitters 2. Number 7, Mario Kart Double Dash. From the SNES onwards, it's been a tradition that every Nintendo console gets its own quintessential Mario Kart title, and the Nintendo GameCube was to be no different. But Mario Kart Double Dash had huge shoes to fill after Mario 64 on the N64, but it's the only Mario Kart game to feature cooperative gameplay, which gamers seem to miss. That being said, Mario Kart Double Dash has got its flaws, which is perhaps why it's not further up the list. That being said, it's a very solid, fun party game, and so it does deserve to be on the list, and number 7 is an appropriate spot. Number 6, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. This game really is a triumph for a number of reasons, and the first one that's immediately noticeable is the visuals. This is a beautiful game that is really aged so well because of the animation style. It builds upon the successes from the original Paper Mario whilst also borrowing some elements from the original Super Mario RPG. Paper Mario really is a fun game that has a unique battle system and some really cool gameplay elements, such as Paper Mario being able to fold into a paper aeroplane to get across gaps in the level. Again, it's something that's difficult to do justice with just my words, so it's really something that you should go back and visit and play for yourself. Definitely check out this installment of Paper Mario. Number 5, Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime's the first time that we got to see a Metroid game in true and beautiful 3D, because it had been missed out on the N64, so it was the first Metroid game since the SNES, and we got to see Samus in action in this first-person shooter with third-person elements, which was a bold choice, but it clearly paid off. And that first level is one of the best openings to a video game that I can ever remember. It's perfect in the way that it captures the mood. You're truly alone in this universe, and in the opening level you get to experience all the upgrades and benefits of Samus's suit, but it gets broken down in the escape and you're reduced to a minimal suit that you have to build from the bottom up. It's a truly polished experience, it was a bold venture, and it's just simply amazing. Number 4, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. This game had Zelda fans very worried indeed. In fact, if you remember, this was the next game game in the series after the smash hits on the N64 with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. People couldn't wait to see Link in super ultra realistic 3D, but when this game was announced, instead they saw the cell shading and ran for the hills. But nonetheless, despite the original reservations, the franchise's exceptional gameplay and storytelling shone through, and in retrospect it arguably left more of an impact than the Twilight Princess, which hasn't aged as well as Wind Waker. The cell shading looks beautiful to this day, and the game also came packaged with the Ocarina of Time, so what more can you ask for? Nintendo, bold as ever, proved that they knew better than us with the Wind Waker. Number 3. Mario Sunshine. Much like with Luigi's Mansion, Mario's solo outing on the Nintendo GameCube also featured a rather bold innovation with the gameplay. They included Flood, which is a backpack that Mario wears on his back that can be used to spray water to clean up the mess that he's been accused of making, as well as used to reach new areas and as a weapon against enemies. This was a gaming choice that was originally met by reservations, but once again Nintendo proved that they know best, and fans of the platforming style from the N64 outing from Mario were also catered for with the bonus levels, which actually have been a huge influence for Super Mario Galaxy, which came out on the Wii. But one of the most important things that we need to mention about this game is the visuals. In my personal opinion, I think this is possibly the most beautiful game that I've ever laid eyes upon, and I've got super fond memories from my childhood of exploring the various different environments and just the way that the water looks in the game. This game was an achievement for the time, and it's definitely something that I enjoy playing from time to time, even today. Number 2. Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is arguably one of the best games of all time, and that's for many reasons. For me, this was the absolute peak of the Resident Evil series because it had the perfect balance of horror and action. The eerie atmosphere is something that I will never forget, and when you add that in with the new action-packed gameplay, the stunning visuals, the fantastic level design, the scares, the frights, the customizable weapons, the unlockables, and the unforgettable mercenaries. That was a game within a game, and as I say, this was the absolute peak of the Resident Evil series, just before it went over the edge on action, becoming less like Dawn of the Dead and more like a Steven Seagal movie. In short, play Resident Evil 4 now. And that brings us to our number 1, Super Smash Bros. Melee. This is the best-selling GameCube game of all time, and is so for good reason. This challenging beat-em-up is a huge Nintendo franchise, and in my opinion is the absolute best in the series. Words can't do it justice. You have to experience the interactive levels, the huge collection of characters, the various different gaming modes, and all the unlockables. This is the perfect game for people picking up for the first time and for high-level play. I've got amazing memories of playing this in my childhood, just endless fun, endless entertainment, and this embodies everything that Nintendo is about. We hope you've enjoyed this list. If you disagree with us, please let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and you can follow me on Twitter at @JoeSHenry. Thank you so much for watching. This has been What Culture Gaming, and I shall see you next time.